Jubilees 1. Moses received the tables of the law and instruction on past and future history, which he is to inscribe in a book 1 to 4. Apostasy of Israel 5 to 9. Captivity of Israel and Judah 10 to 13. Return of Judah and rebuilding of the temple 15 to 18. Moses' prayer for Israel 19 to 21. God's promise to redeem and dwell with them 22 to 5. 28. Moses bidden to write down the future history of the world, the book of Jubilees 26. And an angel to write down the law 27. This angel takes the heavenly chronological tablets to dictate therefrom to Moses 29. And it came to pass in the first year of the exodus of the children of Israel out of Egypt, in the 3rd month, on the 16th day of the month, that God spake to Moses, saying, Come up to me on the mount, and I will give thee 2 tables of stone of the law and of the commandment, which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. And Moses went up into the mount of God, and the glory of the Lord abode on Mount Sinai, and a cloud overshadowed it 6 days. And he called to Moses on the 7th day out of the midst of the cloud, and the appearance of the glory of the Lord was like a flaming fire on the top of the mount. And Moses was on the mount 40 days and 40 nights, and God taught him the earlier and the later history of the division of all the days of the law and of the testimony. And he said, Incline thine heart to every word which I shall speak to thee on this mount, and write them in a book, in order that their generations may see how I have not forsaken them, for all the evil which they have wrought in transgressing the covenant which I established between me and thee, for their generations this day on Mount Sinai. And thus it will come to pass, when all these things come upon them, that they will recognize that I am more righteous than they in all their judgments and in all their actions, and they will recognize that I have been truly with them. And do thou write for thyself all these words which I declare unto thee this day, for I know their rebellion and their stiff neck, before I bring them into the land of which I swear to their fathers, to Abraham and to Isaac and to Jacob, saying, Unto your seed will I give a land flowing with milk and honey. And they will eat and be satisfied, and they will turn to strange gods, to gods which cannot deliver them from aught of their tribulation. And this witness shall be heard for a witness against them, for they will forget all my commandments, even all that I command them, and they will walk after the Gentiles, and after their uncleanness, and after their shame. I will serve their gods, and these will prove unto them an offense, and a tribulation, an affliction, and a snare. And many will perish, and they will be taken captive, and will fall into the hands of the enemy, because they have forsaken my ordinances and my commandments, and the festivals of my covenant, and my Sabbaths, and my holy place, which I have hallowed for myself in their midst, in my tabernacle, in my sanctuary, which I have hallowed for myself in the midst of the land, that I should set my name upon it, and that it should dwell there. And they will make to themselves high places and groves and graven images, and they will worship each his own graven image, so as to go astray, and they will sacrifice their children to demons, and to all the works of the error of their hearts. And thou wilt send witnesses unto them, that I may witness against them, but they will not hear, and will slay the witnesses also. And they will persecute those who seek the law, and they will abrogate and change everything so as to work evil before my eyes. And I will hide my face from them, and I will deliver them into the hand of the Gentiles for captivity and for a prey, and for devouring, and I will remove them from the midst of the land, and I will scatter them amongst the Gentiles. And they will forget all my law and all my commandments and all my judgments, and will go astray as to new moons and Sabbaths and festivals and jubilees and ordinances. And after this they will turn to me from amongst the Gentiles with all their heart and with all their soul and with all their strength, and I will gather them from amongst all the Gentiles. And they will seek me, so that I shall be found of them when they seek me with all their heart and with all their soul. And I will disclose to them abounding peace with righteousness, and I will remove them from the plant of uprightness with all my heart and with all my soul. And they shall be for a blessing and not for a curse, and they shall be the head and not the tail. And I will build my sanctuary in their midst, and I will dwell with them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people in truth and righteousness. And I will not forsake them nor fail them, for I am the Lord their God. And Moses fell on his face and prayed and said, O Lord my God, do not forsake thy people and thy inheritance, so that they should wander in the error of their hearts, and do not deliver them into the hands of their enemies, the Gentiles, lest they should rule over them and cause them to sin against thee. Let thy mercy, O Lord, be lifted up upon thy people, and create in them an upright spirit. And let not the spirit of Beliar rule over them, to accuse them before thee, and to ensnare them from all the paths of righteousness, so that they may perish from before thy face. But they are thy people and thy inheritance, which thou hast delivered with thy great power from the hands of the Egyptians. Create in them a clean heart and a holy spirit, and let them not be ensnared in their sins from henceforth until eternity. And the Lord said unto Moses, I know their contrariness and their thoughts and their stiffneckedness, and they will not be obedient till they confess their own sin and the sin of their fathers. And after this they will turn to me in all uprightness, and with all their heart and with all their soul, and I will circumcise the foreskin of their heart and the foreskin of the heart of their seed, and I will create in them a holy spirit, and I will cleanse them, so that they shall not turn away from me from that day unto eternity. And their souls will cleave to me and to all my commandments, and they will fulfill my commandments. And I will be their father, and they shall be my children. And they all shall be called children of the living God, and every angel and every spirit shall know. Yea, they shall know that these are my children, and that I am their Father, in uprightness and righteousness, and that I love them. And do thou write down for thyself all these words which I declare unto thee on this mountain, the first and the last, which shall come to pass in all the divisions of the days, in the law and in the testimony and in the weeks and the jubilees unto eternity, until I descend and dwell with them throughout eternity. And he said to the angel of the presence, Write for Moses from the beginning of creation, till my sanctuary has been built among them for all eternity. And the Lord will appear to the eyes of all, and all shall know that I am the God of Israel, and the Father of all the children of Jacob, and King on Mount Zion for all eternity. And Zion and Jerusalem shall be holy. And the angel of the presence, who went before the camp of Israel, took the tables of the divisions of the years, from the time of the creation of the law and of the testimony of the weeks of the Jubilees, according to the individual years, according to all the number of the Jubilees, according to the individual years, from the day of the new creation, when the heavens and the earth shall be renewed, and all their creation according to the powers of the heaven, and according to all creation of the earth, until the sanctuary of the Lord shall be made in Jerusalem on Mount Zion, and all the luminaries be renewed for healing, and for peace, and for blessing, for all the elect of Israel, and thus it may be from that day, and unto all the days of the earth. 2. The history of the 22 distinct acts of creation on the 6 days. 1 to 16. Institution of the Sabbath, its observance from the highest angels with whom Israel is afterwards to be associated. 17 to 32. 2. And the angel of the presence spake to Moses according to the word of the Lord, saying, Write the complete history of the creation, how in 6 days the Lord God finished all his works, and all that he created, and kept Sabbath on the seventh day, and hallowed it for all ages, and appointed it as a sign for all his works. For on the first day he created the heavens which are above on the earth, and the waters, and all the spirits which serve before him, the angels of the presence, and the angels of sanctification, and the angels of the spirit of fire, and the angels of the spirit of the winds, and the angels of the spirit of the clouds, and of darkness, and of snow, and of hail, and of hoarfrost, and the angels of the voices, and of the thunder, and of the lightning, and the angels of the spirits of cold and of heat, and of winter and of spring, and of autumn and of summer, and of all the spirits of his creatures which are in the heavens and on the earth. He created the abysses and the darkness, eventide, and the light, dawn and day, which he had prepared in the light of his heart. And thereupon we saw his works, and praised him, and lauded before him on account of all his works. For 7 great works did he create on the first day. And on the second day he created the firmament in the midst of the waters, and the waters were divided on that day. Half of them went up above, and half of them went down below the firmament that was in the midst over the face of the whole earth. And this was the only work God created on the second day. And on the third day he commanded the waters to pass from off the face of the whole earth into one place, and the dry land to appear. And the waters did so as he commanded them, and they retired from off the face of the earth into one place outside of this firmament, and the dry land appeared. And on that day he created for them all the seas, according to their separate gathering places, and all the rivers, and the gatherings of the waters in the mountains, and on all the earth, and on all the lakes, and all the dew of the earth, and the seed which is sown, and all sprouting things, and fruit-bearing trees, and trees of the wood, and the garden of Eden, in Eden, and all plants after their kind. These 4 great works God created on the third day, and on the fourth day he created the sun and the moon and the stars, and set them in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon all the earth, and to rule over the day and the night, and divide the light from the darkness. And God appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, and for Sabbaths, and for months, and for feasts, and for years, and for Sabbaths of years, and for Jubilees, and for all seasons of the years. And it divided the light from the darkness, and for prosperity, that all things may prosper, which shoot and grow on the earth. These 3 kinds he made on the fourth day, and on the fifth day he created great sea monsters in the depths of the waters, for these were the first things of flesh that were created by his hands, the fish and everything that moves in the waters, and everything that flies, the birds and all their kind. And the sun rose above them to prosper them, and above everything that was on the earth, everything that shoots out of the earth, and all fruit-bearing trees, and all flesh. These 3 kinds he created on the fifth day, and on the sixth day he created all animals of the earth, and all cattle, and everything that moves on the earth. And after all this he created a man and a woman created he them, and gave him dominion over all that is upon the earth, and in the seas, and over everything that flies, and over beasts, and over cattle, and over everything that moves on the earth, and over the whole earth, and over all this he gave him dominion. And these four kinds he created them on the sixth day, and there were altogether 22 kinds. And he finished all his work on the sixth day, all that is in the heavens, and on the earth, and in the seas, and in the abysses, and in the light, and in the darkness, and everything. And he gave us a great sign, the Sabbath day, that we should work 6 days, but keep Sabbath on the seventh day from all work. And all the angels of the presence and all the angels of sanctification, these two great classes he had bidden us to keep the Sabbath with him, in heaven and on earth. And he said unto us, Behold, I will separate unto myself a people from among all the peoples, and these shall keep the Sabbath day. And I will sanctify them unto myself as my people, and will bless them, as I have sanctified the Sabbath day, and to sanctify it unto myself. Even so will I bless them, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God. And I have chosen the seed of Jacob from amongst all that I have seen, and have written him down as my firstborn son, and have sanctified him unto myself forever and ever. And I will teach them the Sabbath day, and they may keep Sabbath thereon from all work. And thus he created therein a sign in accordance with which they should keep Sabbath with us on the seventh day, to eat and to drink, and to bless him who has created all things, as he has blessed them, and sanctified unto himself a peculiar people above all peoples, and that they should keep Sabbath together with us. And he caused his commands to ascend as a sweet savour acceptable before him all the days. There were 22 heads of mankind from Adam to Jacob, and 22 kinds of work were made until the seventh day. This is blessed and holy. And the former also is blessed and holy. And this one serves with that one for sanctification and blessing. And to this Jacob and his seed, it was granted that they should always be the blessed and the holy ones of the first testimony and law, even as he had sanctified and blessed the Sabbath day on the seventh day. He created heaven and earth, and everything that he created in 6 days. And God made the seventh day holy for all his works. Therefore he commanded on its behalf that whoever does any work thereon shall die, and that he who defiles it shall surely die. Wherefore do thou command the children of Israel to observe this day, that they may keep it holy, and not do thereon any work, and not to defile it, as it is holier than all other days. And whoever profanes it shall surely die, and whoever does work thereon any work shall surely die eternally, that the children of Israel may observe this day throughout their generations, and not be rooted out of the land. For it is a holy day and a blessed day. And everyone who observes it and keeps its Sabbath thereon from all his work will be holy and blessed throughout all days like unto us. Declare and say to the children of Israel the law of this day, both that they should keep Sabbath thereon, and that they should not forsake it in the error of their hearts, and that it is not lawful to do any work thereon which is unseemly, to do thereon their own pleasure, and that they should not prepare thereon anything to be eaten or drunk, and that it is not lawful to draw water or bring in or take out thereon through their gates any burden, which they had not prepared for themselves on the sixth day in their dwellings. And they shall not bring in nor take out from house to house on that day. For that day is more holy and blessed than any Jubilee day of the Jubilees, On this we kept Sabbath in the heavens, before it was made known to any flesh, to keep Sabbath thereon on the earth. And the Creator of all things blessed it, but he did not sanctify all peoples and nations to keep Sabbath thereon, but Israel alone. Them alone he permitted to eat and drink, and to keep Sabbath thereon on the earth. And the Creator of all things blessed this day which he had created for blessing and holiness and glory above all days. This law and testimony was given to the children of Israel as a law forever unto their generations. Jubilees 3. Adam names all creatures 1 to 3, creation of Eve and enactment of Levitical laws of purification. 4 to 14. Adam and Eve in paradise, their sin and expulsion. 15 to 29. Love covering one's shame enacted. 30 to 2. Adam and Eve live in Elda. 32 to 5. 3. And on the 6 days of the second week we brought, according to the word of God, unto Adam all the beasts, and all the cattle, and all the birds, and everything that moves on the earth, and everything that moves in the water, according to their kinds, and according to their types, the beasts on the first day, the cattle on the second day, the birds on the third day, and all that which moves on the earth on the fourth day, and that which moves in the water on the fifth day. And Adam named them all by their respective names, and as he called them, so was their name. And on these 5 days Adam saw all these, male and female, according to every kind that was on the earth, but he was alone, and found no helpmeet for him. And the Lord said unto us, It is not good that the man should be alone. Let us make a helpmeet for him. And the Lord our God caused a deep sleep to fall upon him, and he slept. And he took for the woman one rib from amongst his ribs, and this rib was the origin of the woman from amongst his ribs. And he built up the flesh in its stead, and built the woman. And he awaked Adam out of his sleep, and on awaking he arose on the 6th day. And he brought her to him, and he knew her, and said unto her, This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called my wife, because she was taken from her husband. Therefore shall man and wife be one, and therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. In the first week was Adam created, and the rib his wife. In the second week he showed her unto him, and for this reason the commandment was given to keep in their defilement, for a male 7 days, and for a female twice 7 days. And after Adam had completed 40 days in the land where he had been created, we brought him into the garden of Eden to till and keep it. But his wife they brought in on the 80th day, and after this she entered into the garden of Eden. And for this reason the commandment is written on the heavenly tablets in regard to her that gives birth. If she bears a male, she shall remain in her uncleanness 7 days, according to the first week of days. And 33 days shall she remain in the blood of her purifying. And she shall not touch any hallowed thing, nor enter into the sanctuary, until she accomplishes these days, which are enjoined in the case of a male child. But in the case of a female child, she shall remain in her uncleanness 2 weeks of days, according to the first 2 weeks, and 66 days in the blood of her purification, and they will be in all 80 days. And when she had completed these 80 days, we brought her into the garden of Eden, for it is holier than all the earth besides, and every tree that is planted in it is holy. Therefore there was ordained regarding her who bears a male or a female child the statute of those days, that she should touch no hallowed thing, nor enter into the sanctuary until these days for the male or female child are accomplished. This is the law and testimony which was written down for Israel, in order that they should observe it all the days. And in the first week of the first Jubilee, 1 to 7 a.m., Adam and his wife were in the garden of Eden for 7 years, tilling and keeping it. And we gave him work, and we instructed him to do everything that is suitable for tillage. And he tilled the garden, and was naked, and knew it not, and was not ashamed. And he protected the garden from the birds and the beasts and cattle, and gathered its fruit and eat, and put aside the residue for himself and for his wife, and put aside that which was being kept. And after the completion of the 7 years which he had completed there, 7 years exactly, 8 a.m., and in the second month, on the 17th day of the month, the serpent came and approached the woman. And the serpent said to the woman, Had God commanded you, saying, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And she said to it, Of all the fruit of the trees of the garden God had said unto us, Eat. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden God had said unto us, Ye shall not eat thereof, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that on the day ye shall eat thereof, your eyes will be opened, and ye will be as gods, and ye will know good and evil. And the woman saw the tree, that it was agreeable and pleasant to the eye, and that it was good for food, and she took thereof and ate. And when she had first covered her shame with fig leaves, she gave thereof to Adam, and he ate, and his eyes were opened, and he saw that he was naked. And he took fig leaves and sewed them together, and made an apron for himself, and covered his shame. And God cursed the serpent, and was wroth with it forever. And he was wroth with the woman, because she hearkened to the voice of the serpent, and did eat. And he said unto her, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy pains. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy return shall be unto thy husband, and he will rule over thee. And to Adam also he said, Because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat thereof, cursed be the ground for thy sake. Thorns and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat thy bread in the sweat of thy face, till thou returnest to the earth from whence thou wast taken. For earth thou art, and unto earth shalt thou return. And he made for them coats of skin, and clothed them, and sent them forth from the garden of Eden. And on that day on which Adam went forth from the garden, he offered as a sweet savour an offering, frankincense, galbanum, and stacte, and spices in the morning with the rising of the sun, from the day when he covered his shame. And on that day was closed the mouth of all beasts, and of cattle, and of birds, and of whatever walks, and of whatever moves, so that they could no longer speak. For they had all spoken one with another with one lip and with one tongue. And he sent out the garden of Eden all flesh that was in the garden of Eden, and all flesh was scattered according to its kinds, and according to its types, and to the places which had been created for them. And to Adam alone did he give the wherewithal to cover his shame, of all the beasts and cattle. On this account it is prescribed on the heavenly tablets as touching all those who knew the judgment of the law, that they should cover their shame, and should not uncover themselves as the Gentiles uncover themselves. And on the new moon of the 4th month Adam and his wife went forth from the garden of Eden, and they dwelt in the land of Eldah, in the land of their creation. And Adam called the name of his wife Eve. And they had no son till the first Jubilee, 8 a.m., and after this he knew her. Now he tilled the land as he had been instructed in the garden of Eden. Cain and Abel and other children of Adam, 1 to 12, Enos, Kenan, Mahalalel, Jared, 13 to 15, Enoch and his history, 16 to 25, four sacred places, 26, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah, 27, 28, death of Adam and Cain, 29, 32, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, 32, 4. And in the third week, in the second Jubilee, 6470 a.m., she gave birth to Cain. And in the fourth, 71 to 77 a.m., she gave birth to Abel. And in the fifth, 78:84 a.m., she gave birth to her daughter Awan. And in the first year of the third Jubilee, 99:105 a.m., Cain slew Abel because God accepted the sacrifice of Abel and did not accept the offering of Cain. And he slew him in the field, and his blood cried from the ground to heaven, complaining because he had slain him. And the Lord reproved Cain because of Abel, and because he had slain him, and he made him a fugitive on the earth because of the blood of his brother, and he cursed him upon the earth. And on this account it is written on the heavenly tables, Cursed is he who smites his neighbor treacherously. And let all who have seen and heard say, So be it. And the man who has seen and not declared it, let him be accursed as the other. And for this reason we announce when we come before the Lord our God all the sin which is committed in heaven and on earth, and in light and in darkness, and everywhere. And Adam and his wife mourned for Abel 4 weeks of years, 99 1 to 27 a.m. And in the fourth year of the fifth week, 1:30 a.m., they became joyful, and Adam knew his wife again. And she bare him a son, and he called his name Seth. For he said, God has raised up a second seed unto us on the earth instead of Abel, for Cain slew him. And in the sixth week, 1:34:40 a.m., he begat his daughter Azurah. And Cain took Awan his sister to be his wife, and she bare him Enoch at the close of the fourth Jubilee, 196 a.m. And in the first year of the first week of the fifth Jubilee, 197 a.m., houses were built on the earth, and Cain built a city, and called its name after the name of his son Enoch. And Adam knew Eve his wife, and she bare yet 9 sons. And in the fifth week of the fifth Jubilee, 2:25:31 a.m., Seth took Azurah his sister to be his wife. And in the fourth year of the sixth week, 2:35 a.m., she bare him Enos. He began to call on the name of the Lord on the earth. And in the seventh Jubilee, in the third week, 3:09:15 a.m., Enos took Noam his sister to be his wife, and she bare him a son in the third year of the fifth week, and he called his name Kenan. And at the close of the eighth Jubilee, 3:25, 3:86, 3:992 a.m., Kenan took Mualileth his sister to be his wife, and she bare him a son in the ninth Jubilee, in the first week, in the third year of this week, 3:95 a.m., and he called his name Mahalalel. And in the second week of the 10th Jubilee, 4:49:55 a.m., Mahalalel took unto him to wife Dinah, the daughter of Barachiel, the daughter of his father's brother. And she bare him a son in the third week in the sixth year, 4:61 a.m. And he called his name Jared, for in his days the angels of the Lord descended on the earth, those who are named the Watchers, that they should instruct the children of men, and that they should do judgment and uprightness on the earth. And in the 11th Jubilee, 5:12:18 a.m., Jared took to himself a wife, and her name was Barakah, the daughter of Rasujal, a daughter of his father's brother, in the fourth week of this Jubilee, 5:22 a.m., and she bare him a son in the fifth week, in the fourth year of the Jubilee, and he called his name Enoch. And he was the first among men that are born on earth who learned writing and knowledge and wisdom, and who wrote down the signs of heaven, according to the order of their months in a book, that men might know the seasons of the years according to the order of their separate months. And he was the first to write a testimony, and he testified to the sons of men among the generations of the earth, and recounted the weeks of the Jubilees, and made known to them the days of the years, and set in order the months, and recounted the Sabbaths of the years as we made them known to him. And what was and what will be he saw in a vision of his sleep, as it will happen to the children of men throughout their generations until the day of judgment. He saw and understood everything, and wrote his testimony, and placed the testimony on earth for all the children of men and for their generations. And in the 12th Jubilee, 582-88, in the 7th week thereof, he took to himself a wife, and her name was Edna, the daughter of Daniel, the daughter of his father's brother. And in the 6th year, in this week, 587 a.m., she bare him a son, and he called his name Methuselah. And he was moreover with the angels of God these 6 jubilees of years, and they showed him everything which is on earth, and in the heavens the rule of the sun, and he wrote down everything. And he testified to the watchers who had sinned with the daughters of men, for these had begun to unite themselves, so as to be defiled with the daughters of men. And Enoch testified against them all. And he was taken from amongst the children of men, and we conducted him into the garden of Eden, in majesty and honor, and behold, there he writes down the condemnation and judgment of the world, and all the wickedness of the children of men. And on account of it God brought the waters of the flood upon all the land of Eden, for there he was set as a sign, and that he should testify against all the children of men, that he should recount all the deeds of the generations until the day of condemnation. And he burnt the incense of the sanctuary, even sweet spices acceptable before the Lord on the mount. For the Lord has 4 places on the earth, the garden of Eden, and the mount of the east, and this mountain on which thou art this day, Mount Sinai, and Mount Zion, which will be sanctified in the new creation for a sanctification of the earth. Through it will the earth be sanctified from all its guilt and its uncleanness throughout the generations of the world. And in the 14th Jubilee, 6:52 a.m., Methuselah took unto himself a wife, Edna, the daughter of Azrael, the daughter of his father's brother, in the 3rd week, in the 1st year of this week, 7:07 a.m. And he begat a son, and called his name Lamech. And in the 15th Jubilee, in the 3rd week, Lamech took himself a wife, and her name was Bethanus, the daughter of Barachiel, the daughter of his father's brother. And in this week she bare him a son, and he called his name Noah, saying, This one will comfort me for my trouble and all my work, and for the ground which the Lord had cursed. And at the close of the 90th Jubilee, in the 7th week, in the 6th year, 9:30 a.m., thereof Adam died, and all his sons buried him in the land of his creation. And he was the first to be buried in the earth. And he lacked 70 years of 1,000 years. For 1,000 years are as one day in the testimony of the heavens. And therefore was it written concerning the tree of knowledge, On the day that ye eat thereof ye shall die. For this reason he did not complete the years of this day, for he died during it. At the close of this jubilee, Cain was killed after him in the same manner, the same year. For his house fell upon him, and he died in the midst of his house. And he was killed by its stones, for with a stone he had killed Abel, and by a stone was he killed in righteous judgment. For this reason it was ordained on the heavenly tablets, with the instrument with which a man kills his neighbor, with the same shall he be killed. After the manner that he wounded him, in like manner shall they deal with him. And in the 25th 12:05 a.m. Jubilee Noah took to himself a wife, and her name was Zara, the daughter of Rachiel, the daughter of his father's brother, in the first year, in the 5th week, 12:07 a.m. And in the 3rd year thereof she bare him Shem. In the 5th year thereof, 12:09 a.m., she bare him Ham. And in the 1st year, in the 6th week, 12:12 a.m., she bare him Japheth. Jubilees 5. The angels of God marry the daughters of men. 1. Corruption of all creation. 2-3. Punishment of the fallen angels and their children. 49a. Final judgment announced. 9b-16. Day of Atonement 17-18. The deluge foretold. Noah builds the ark. The deluge 1932. 5. And it came to pass, when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the angels of God saw them on a certain year of this Jubilee, that they were beautiful to look upon, and they took themselves wives of all whom they chose. And they bare unto them sons, and they were giants. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its way, alike men and cattle and beasts and birds and everything that walks on the earth. All of them corrupted their ways and their orders, and they began to devour each other. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of all men was thus evil continually. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupted its orders, and all that were upon the earth had wrought all manner of evil before his eyes. And he said that he would destroy man and all flesh upon the face of the earth which he had created. When Noah found grace before the eyes of the Lord, and against the angels whom he had sent upon the earth, he was exceedingly wroth, and he gave commandment to root them out of all their dominion. And he bade us to bind them in the depths of the earth. And behold, they are bound in the midst of them, and are kept separate. And against their sons went forth a command from before his face, that they should be smitten with the sword, and be removed from under heaven. And he said, My spirit shall not always abide on man, for they also are flesh, and their days shall be 120 years. And he sent his sword into their midst, that each should slay his neighbor, and they began to slay each other, till they all fell by the sword, and were destroyed from the earth. And their fathers were witnesses of their destruction. And after this they were bound in the depths of the earth forever, until the day of the great condemnation, when judgment is executed on all those who have corrupted their ways and their works before the Lord. And he destroyed all from their places, and there was not left one of them, whom he judged not according to all their wickedness. And he made for all his works a new and righteous nature, so that they should not sin in their whole nature forever, but should be all righteous, each in his kind way. And the judgment of all is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets in righteousness, even the judgment of all who depart from the path which is ordained for them to walk in. And if they walk not therein, judgment is written down for every creature and for every kind. And there is nothing in heaven or on earth, or in light or in darkness, or in Sheol, or in the depth, or in the place of darkness, which is not judged, and all their judgments are ordained and written and engraved. In regard to all, he will judge the great according to his greatness, and the small according to his smallness, and each according to his way. And he is not one who will regard the person of any, nor is he one who will receive gifts if he says that he will execute judgment on each. If one gave everything that is on the earth, he will not regard the gifts or the person of any, nor accept anything at his hands, for he is a righteous judge. And of the children of Israel it has been written and ordained, if they turn to him in righteousness, he will forgive all their transgressions and pardon all their sins. It is written and ordained that he will show mercy to all who turn from all their guilt once each year. And for all those who corrupted their ways and their thoughts before the flood, no man's person was accepted save that of Noah alone. For his person was accepted in behalf of his sons, whom God saved from the waters of the flood on his account. For his heart was righteous in all his ways, according as it was commanded regarding him. And he had not departed from aught that was ordained for him. And the Lord said that he would destroy everything which was upon the earth, both men and cattle, and beasts and fowls of the air, and that which moveth on the earth. And he commanded Noah to make him an ark, that he might save himself from the waters of the flood. And Noah made the ark in all respects, as he commanded him, in the 27th Jubilee of years, in the 5th week, in the 5th year, on the new moon, on the first month, 13:07 a.m. And he entered in the 6th year thereof, 13:08 a.m., in the 2nd month, on the new moon of the 2nd month, till the 16th. And he entered, and all that we brought to him, into the ark, and the Lord closed it from without on the 17th evening. And the Lord opened 7 floodgates of heaven, and the mouths of the fountains of the great deep, 7 mouths in number. And the floodgates began to pour down water from the heaven 40 days and 40 nights. And the fountains of the deep also sent up waters, until the whole world was full of water. And the waters increased upon the earth. 15 cubits did the waters rise above all the high mountains, and the ark was lifted up above the earth, and it moved upon the face of the waters. And the water prevailed on the face of the earth 5 months, 150 days. And the ark went and rested on the top of Lubar, one of the mountains of Ararat. And on the new moon, in the 4th month, the fountains of the great deep were closed, and the floodgates of heaven were restrained. And on the new moon of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were opened, and the water began to descend into the deep below. And on the new moon of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen. And on the new moon of the 1st month, the earth became visible. And the waters disappeared from above the earth in the 5th week, in the 7th year, 13:09 a.m. Thereof, and on the 17th day, in the 2nd month, the earth was dry. And on the 27th thereof, he opened the ark, and sent forth from it beasts and cattle and birds and every moving thing. Jubilee 6. Sacrifice of Noah 1-3. God's covenant with Noah, eating of blood forbidden 4-10. Moses bidden to renew this law against the eating of blood 11-14. Bow set in the clouds for a sign 15-16. Feast of Weeks instituted, history of its observances 17-22. Feast of the New Moons 23-8. Division of the year into 364 days 29-38. 6. And on the new moon of the 3rd month he went forth from the ark, and built an altar on that mountain. And he made atonement for the earth, and took a kid, and made atonement by its blood for all the guilt of the earth, for everything that had been on it had been destroyed, save those that were in the ark with Noah. And he placed the fat thereof on the altar, and he took an ox, and a goat, and a sheep, and a kids, and salt, and a turtle dove, and the young of a dove, and placed a burnt sacrifice on the altar, and poured thereon an offering mingled with oil, and sprinkled wine, and strewed frankincense over everything, and caused a goodly savor to arise, acceptable before the Lord. And the Lord smelt the goodly savor, and he made a covenant with him that there should not be any more flood to destroy the earth, that all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest should never cease, cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night should not change their order, nor cease forever. And you increase ye and multiply upon the earth, and become many upon it, and be a blessing upon it. The fear of you and the dread of you I will inspire in everything that is on earth and in the sea. And behold, I have given unto you all beasts, and all winged things, and everything that moves on the earth, and the fish in the waters, and all things for food. As the green herbs I have given you all things to eat, but flesh with the life thereof, with the blood ye shall not eat, for the life of all flesh is in the blood, lest your blood of your lives be required at the hand of every man, at the hand of every beast, will I require the blood of man. Who sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of God made he man. And you increase ye, and multiply on the earth. And Noah and his sons swore that they would not eat any blood that was in any flesh. And he made a covenant before the Lord God forever throughout all the generations of the earth in this month. On this account he spake to thee that thou shouldst make a covenant with the children of Israel in this month upon the mountain with an oath, and that thou shouldst sprinkle blood upon them because of all the words of the covenant, which the Lord made with them forever. And this testimony is written concerning you, that you should observe it continually, so that you should not eat in any day any blood of beasts or birds or cattle during all the days of the earth. And the man who eats the blood of beasts or of cattle or of birds during all the days of the earth, he and his seed shall be rooted out of the land. And do thou command the children of Israel to eat no blood, so that their names under seed may be before the Lord our God continually. And for this law there is no limit of days, for it is forever. They shall observe it throughout their generations, so that they may continue supplicating on your behalf with blood before the altar, every day and at the time of mourning, and evening they shall seek forgiveness on your behalf, perpetually before the Lord, that they may keep it and not be rooted out. And he gave to Noah and his sons a sign, that there should not again be flood on the earth. He set his bow in the cloud for a sign of the eternal covenant, that there should not again be a flood on the earth to destroy it all the days of the earth. For this reason it is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets, that they should celebrate the Feast of Weeks in this month once a year, to renew the covenant every year. And this whole festival was celebrated in heaven from the day of creation till the days of Noah, 26 Jubilees and 5 weeks of years, 1309, 1659 a.m. And Noah and his sons observed it for 7 Jubilees and 1 week of years, till the day of Noah's death. And from the day of Noah's death his sons did away with it, until the days of Abraham, and they eat blood. But Abraham observed it, and Isaac and Jacob and his children observed it up to their days. And in their days the children of Israel forgot it, until ye celebrated it anew on this mountain. And do thou command the children of Israel to observe this festival in all their generations for a commandment unto them. 1 day in the year in this month they shall celebrate the festival. For it is the Feast of Weeks and Feast of Firstfruits. This feast is twofold and of a double nature, according to what is written and engraven concerning it, celebrate it. For I have written in the book of the first law, and that which I have written for thee, that thou shouldst celebrate it in its season, 1 day in the year. And I explained to thee its sacrifices, that the children of Israel should remember and should celebrate it throughout the generations in this month, one day in every year, and on the new moon on the first month, and on the new moon of the fourth month, and on the new moon of the seventh month, and on the new moon of the 10th month, are the days of remembrance, and the days of the seasons in the four divisions of the year. These are written and ordained as a testimony forever. And Noah ordained them for himself as feasts, for the generations forever, so that they have become thereby a memorial unto him. And on the new moon of the first month he was bidden to make for himself an ark, and on that day the earth became dry, and he opened the ark and saw the earth. And on the new moon of the fourth month the mouths of the depths of the abyss beneath were closed. And on the new moon of the seventh month all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were opened, and the waters began to descend into them. And on the new moon of the 10th month the tops of the mountains were seen. And Noah was glad, and on this account he ordered them for himself as feasts for memorial forever, and thus are they ordained. And they placed them on the heavenly tablets. Each had 13 weeks from one to another, past their memorial, from the first to the second, and from the second to the third, and from the third to the fourth. And all the days of the commandment will be 250 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year complete. Thus it is engraven and ordained on the heavenly tablets. And there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year or from year to year. And command thou the children of Israel that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days, and these will constitute a complete year. And they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feasts, for everything will fall out in them according to their testimony. And they will not leave out any day nor disturb any feast. But if they do neglect and do not observe them according to his commandment, then they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order. And they will disturb the seasons, and the years will be dislodged, and they will neglect their ordinances. And all the children of Israel will forget, and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the order of the years. For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto thee, and it is not of my own devising, for the book lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant, and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles, after their error and after their ignorance. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it distorts the seasons, and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon. For this reason the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order, and make an abominable day, the day of testimony, an unclean day, a feast day. And they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy. For they will go wrong as to the months and Sabbaths and feasts and Jubilees. For this reason I command and testify to thee, that thou mayst testify to them, for after thy death thy children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason they will go wrong as to the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths and festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh. Jubilee 7. Noah plants a vineyard and offers a sacrifice 1 to 5, becomes drunk and exposes his person 6 to 9. The cursing of Canaan and blessing of Shem and Japheth 10 to 12. Noah's sons and grandsons and their cities 13 to 19. Noah teaches his sons regarding the causes of the deluge and admonishes them to avoid the eating of blood and murder, to keep the law regarding fruit trees, and let the land lie fallow every 7th year, as Enoch had directed 20 to 39. 7. And in the seventh week, in the first year, 1317 a.m., thereof in this Jubilee, Noah planted vines on the mountain on which the ark had rested, named Lubar, one of the Ararat mountains, and they produced fruit in the fourth year, 1320 a.m. And he guarded their fruit, and gathered it in this year in the seventh month. And he made wine thereof, and put into a vessel, and kept it until the fifth year, 1321 a.m., until the first day on the new moon of the first month. And he celebrated with joy the day of his feast, and he made a burnt sacrifice on the Lord, 1 young ox and 1 ram and 7 sheep, each a year old, and a kid of the goats, that he might make atonement thereby for himself and his sons. And he prepared the kid first, and placed some of its blood on the flesh that was on the altar, which he had made. And all the fat he laid on the altar where he made the burnt sacrifice, and the ox and the ram and the sheep. And he laid all their flesh upon the altar. And he placed all their offerings mingled with oil upon it. And afterwards he sprinkled wine on the fire, which he had previously made on the altar. And he placed incense on the altar, and caused a sweet savour to ascend acceptable before the Lord his God. And he rejoiced and drank of the wine, he and his children with joy. And it was evening, and he went into his tent, and being drunken he lay down and slept, and was uncovered in his tent as he slept. And Ham saw Noah his father naked, and went forth and told his 2 brethren without. And Shem took his garment and arose, he and Japheth, and they placed the garment on their shoulders, and went backward, and covered the shame of their father, and their faces were backward. And Noah awoke from his sleep, and knew all that his younger son had done unto him. And he cursed his son, and said, Cursed be Canaan, and a slave servant shall he be unto his brethren. And he blessed Shem, and said, Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. God shall enlarge Japheth, and God shall dwell in the dwelling of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And Ham knew that his father had cursed his younger son, and he was displeased that he had cursed his son. And he parted from his father, he and his sons, to them, Cush and Mizraim, and put in Canaan. And he built for himself a city, and called its name after the name of his wife, Neelatamuk. And Japheth saw it, and became envious of his brother, and he too built for himself a city, and he called its name after the name of his wife, Adattaneses. And Shem dwelt with his father Noah, and he built a city close to his father on the mountain. And he too called its name after the name of his wife, Sedekitelebab. And behold, these 3 cities are near Mount Lubar, Sedekitelebab, fronting the mountain on its east, and Naaltelmook on the south, Adattaneses towards the west. And these are the sons of Shem, Elam, and Ashur, and Arpachshad his son was born 2 years after the flood, and Lud and Aram. The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog, and Madai and Javan, Tubal and Meshech and Tiras. These are the sons of Noah. And in the 28th Jubilee, 1324 to 1372 a.m., Noah began to enjoin upon his sons the ordinances and commandments, and all the judgments that he knew, and he exhorted his sons to observe righteousness, and to cover the shame of their flesh, and to bless their Creator, and honor father and mother, and love their neighbor, and guard their souls from fornication, and uncleanness, and all iniquity. For owing to these 3 things came the flood upon the earth, namely, owing to the fornication, wherein the watchers against the law of their ordinances went a whoring after the daughters of men, and took themselves wives of all which they chose, and they made the beginning of uncleanness. And they begat sons enough with them, and they were all unlike, and they devoured one another. And the giant slew the Nephil, and the Nephil slew the Eljo, and the Eljo mankind, and one man another. And every one sold himself to work iniquity, and to shed much blood, and the earth was filled with iniquity. And after this they sinned against the beasts and birds and all that moves and walks on the earth. And much blood was shed on the earth, and every imagination and desire of men imagined vanity and evil continually. And the Lord destroyed everything from off the face of the earth, because of the wickedness of their deeds. And because of the blood which they had shed in the midst of the earth, he destroyed everything. And we were left, I and you, my sons, and everything that entered with us into the ark. And behold, I see your works before me, that ye do not walk in righteousness, for in the path of destruction ye have begun to walk. And ye are parting one from another, and are envious one of another. And so it comes that ye are not in harmony, my sons, each with his brother. For I see and behold the demons have begun their seductions against you, and against your children, and now I fear on your behalf, that after my death you will shed the blood of men upon the earth, and that ye too will be destroyed from the face of the earth. For whoso sheddeth man's blood, and whoso eateth the blood of any flesh, shall all be destroyed from the earth. And there shall not be left any man that eateth blood, nor or that sheddeth the blood of man on the earth, nor shall there be left to him any seed or descendants living under heaven. For into Sheol shall they go, and into that place of condemnation shall they descend, and into the darkness of the deep shall they all be removed by a violent death. There shall be no blood seen upon you. Of all the blood there shall be all the days in which ye have killed any beast or cattle, or whatever flies upon the earth. And work ye a good work to your souls by covering that which has been shed on the face of the earth. And ye shall not be like him who eats with blood, but guard yourselves that none may eat blood before you. Cover the blood, for thus have I been commanded to testify to you and your children, together with all flesh. And suffer not the soul to be eaten with the flesh, that your blood, which is your life, may not be required at the hand of any flesh that sheds it on the earth. For the earth will not be clean from the blood which has been shed upon it, for only through the blood of him that shed it will the earth be purified throughout all its generations. And now, my children, hearken, work judgment and righteousness, and that ye may be planted in righteousness over the face of the whole earth, and your glory lifted up before my God, who saved me from the waters of the flood. And behold, you will go and build for yourselves cities, and plant in them all the plants that are upon the earth, and moreover all fruit-bearing trees. For 3 years the fruit of everything that is eaten will not be gathered. And in the 4th year its fruit will be accounted holy, and they will offer the firstfruits, acceptable before the Most High God, who created heaven and earth, and all things. Let them offer in abundance the first of the wine and oil as firstfruits on the altar of the Lord, who receives it, and what is left let the servants of the house of the Lord eat before the altar which receives it. And in the 5th year make ye the release, so that ye release it in righteousness and uprightness, and ye shall be righteous, and all that you plant shall prosper. For thus did Enoch the father of your father command Methuselah his son, and Methuselah his son Lamech. And Lamech commanded me all the things which his fathers commanded him. And I also will give you commandment, my sons, as Enoch commanded his son in the first Jubilees, while still living. The 7th in his generation he commanded and testified to his son, and to his son's sons until the day of his death. Jubilees 8. Cainam discovers an inscription relating to the sun and stars, 1-4, his sons 5-8, Noah's sons and Noah divide the earth, 10-11, Shem's inheritance 12-21, Ham's 22-4, Japheth's 25-30. 8. In the 29th Jubilee, in the first week, 1373 a.m. In the beginning thereof Arpachshad took to himself a wife, and her name was Ratsueja, the daughter of Susan, the daughter of Elam. And she bare him a son in the 3rd year in this week, 1375 a.m. And he called his name Canaan. And the son grew, and his father taught him writing, and he went to seek for himself a place where he might seize for himself a city. And he found the writing which former generations had carved on the rock, and he read what was thereon, and he transcribed it, and sinned owing to it. For it contained the teaching of the watchers, in accordance with which they used to observe the omens of the sun and moon and stars and all the signs of heaven. And he wrote it down and said nothing regarding it, for he was afraid to speak to Noah about it, lest he should be angry with him on account of it. And in the 30th Jubilee, 1429 a.m., in the 2nd week in the 1st year thereof, he took to himself a wife, and her name was Milcah, the daughter of Madai, the son of Japheth. And in the 4th year, 1432 a.m., he begat a son, and called his name Shelah, for he said, Truly I have been sent. And in the 4th year he was born. And Shelah grew up, and took to himself a wife, and her name was Moach, the daughter of Kised his father's brother, in the 31st Jubilee, in the 5th week, in the 1st year, 1499 a.m. thereof. And she bare him a son in the 5th year, 1503 a.m. thereof. And he called his name Eber. And he took unto himself a wife, and her name was Azurat, the daughter of Nebrod, in the 32nd Jubilee, in the 7th week, in the 3rd year thereof, 1564 a.m. And in the 6th year, 1567 a.m., thereof she bare him a son. And he called his name Peleg, for in the days when he was born the children of Noah began to divide the earth amongst themselves. For this reason he called his name Peleg. And they divided it secretly amongst themselves, and told it to Noah. And it came to pass in the beginning of the 33rd Jubilee, 1569 a.m., that they divided the earth into 3 parts for Shem and Ham and Japheth, according to the inheritance of each, in the 1st year, in the 1st week, when one of us who had been sent was with them. And he called his sons, and they drew nigh to him, they and their children, and he divided the earth into the lots, which his 3 sons were to take in possession. And they reached forth their hands, and took the writing out of the bosom of Noah their father. And there came forth on the writing as Shem's lot the middle of the earth, which he should take as an inheritance for himself and for his sons for the generations of eternity, from the middle of the mountain range of Rapha, from the mouth of the water, from the river Tina. And his portion goes toward the west through the midst of this river, and it extended till it reaches the water of the abysses, out of which this river goes forth, and pours its waters into the sea Meath, and this river flows into the great sea, and all its towards the north is Japheth's, and all that is towards the south belongs to Shem. And it extends till it reaches Carsel. This is the bosom of the tank which looks towards the south. And its portion extends along the great sea, and it extends in a straight line till it reaches the west of the tank, which looks towards the south, for this sea is named the tank of the Egyptian sea. And it turns from here towards the south, towards the mouth of the great sea on the shore of its waters. And it extends to the west to Afra, and it extends till it reaches the waters of the river Gihon, and to the south of the waters of Gihon, to the banks of this river. And it extends towards the east, till it reaches the garden of Eden, to the south thereof, to the south, and from the east to the whole land of Eden, and of the whole east. It turns to the east, and proceeds till it reaches the east of the mountain named Rapha, and it descends to the bank of the mouth of the river Tina. This portion came forth by lot for Shem and his sons, that they should possess it forever unto his generations forevermore. And Noah rejoiced that this portion came forth for Shem and for his sons, and he remembered all that he had spoken with his mouth in prophecy. For he had said, Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and may the Lord dwell in the dwelling of Shem. And he knew that the garden of Eden is the holy of holies, and the dwelling of the Lord. and Mount Sinai the center of the desert, and Mount Zion the center of the navel of the earth. These three were created as holy places facing each other. And he blessed the God of gods, who had put the word of the Lord into his mouth, and the Lord forevermore. And he knew that a blessed portion and a blessing had come to Shem and his sons unto the generations of forever. The whole land of Eden, and the whole land of the Red Sea, and the whole land of the east and India, and on the Red Sea and the mountains thereof, and all the land of Bashan, and all the land of Lebanon, and the islands of Kaftor, and all the mountains of Sanir and Amana, and the mountains of Ashur in the north, and all the land of Elam, Ashur and Babel, and Susan and Maadai, and all the mountains of Ararat, and all the region beyond the sea, which is beyond the mountains of Ashur towards the north, a blessed and spacious land, and all that is in it is very good. And for Ham came forth the second portion beyond the Gihon, towards the south to the right of the garden, and it extends towards the south, and it extends to all the mountains of fire, and it extends towards the west of the sea of Atal, and it extends towards the west till it reaches the sea of Maok, that sea into which everything which is not destroyed descends. And it goes forth towards the north to the limits of Gader, and it goes forth to the coast of the waters of the sea, to the waters of the great sea, till it draws near to the river Gihon, and goes along the river Gihon till it reaches the right of the Garden of Eden. And this is the land which came forth for Ham, and the portion which he was to occupy forever for himself and his sons unto their generations forever. And for Japheth came forth the third portion beyond the river Tina to the north of the outflow of its waters, and it extends northeasterly to the whole region of Gog, and to all the countries thereof. And it extends northerly to the north, and it extends to the mountains of Gel towards the north, and towards the sea of Maok, and it goes forth to the east of Gader, as far as the region of the waters of the sea. And it extends until it approaches the west of Farah, and it returns towards Alpharag, and it extends easterly to the waters of the sea of Meath. And it extends to the region of the river Tina, in a northeasterly direction until it approaches the boundary of its waters towards the mountain Rapha, and it turns round towards the north. This is the land which came forth for Japheth and his sons, is the portion of his inheritance which he should possess for himself and his sons for their generations forever. 5 great islands and a great land in the north. But it is cold, and the land of Ham is hot, and the land of Shem is neither hot nor cold, but it is a blended cold and heat. Jubilees 9. Subdivision of the 3 portions amongst the children of Noah amongst Ham's children. 1 Shams 2-6, Japheth 17-13. All taken by Noah's sons 14-15. 9. And Ham divided amongst his sons, and the first portion came forth for Kish towards the east, and to the west of him for Mizraim, and to the west of him for Put, and to the west of him unto the west thereof on the sea for Canaan. And Shem also divided amongst his sons, and the first portion came forth for Ham and his sons to the east of the river Tigris, till it approaches to the east the whole land of India, and on the Red Sea, on its coast, and the waters of the Dan, and all the mountains of Mibri, and Elah, and all the land of Susan, and all that is on the side of Parnak, to the Red Sea and the river Tina. And for Ashur came forth the second portion, all the land of Ashur, and Nineveh and Shinar unto the border of India, and it ascends and skirts the river. And for Apachad came forth the third portion, all the land of the region of Chaldees to the east of the Euphrates, bordering on the Red Sea, and all the waters of the desert close to the tongue of the sea which looks towards Egypt, all the land of Lebanon and Sanir and Amana to the border of the Euphrates. And for Aram there came forth the fourth portion, all the land of Mesopotamia between the Tigris and the Euphrates, to the north of the Chaldees, to the border of the mountains of Ashur, and the land of Ararat. And there came forth for Lot the fifth portion the mountains of Ashur, and all appertaining to them, till it reaches the great sea, until it reaches the east of Ashur his brother. And Japheth also divided the land of his inheritance among his sons. And the first portion came forth for Gomer to the east from the north side to the river Tina. And in the north there came forth for Magog all the inner portions of the north until it reaches to the sea of Meath. And for Madai came forth as his portion, that he should possess from the west of his two brothers to the islands and to the coast of the islands. And for Javan came forth the fourth portion, every island, and the islands which are towards the border of Lud. And for Tubal there came forth the fifth portion in the midst of the tank, which approaches towards the border of the portion of Lud, to the second tank, to the region beyond the second tank on the third tank. And for Meshech came forth the sixth portion, all the region beyond the third tank, till it approaches the east of Gader. And for Tiras there came forth the seventh portion, four great islands in the midst of the sea, which reached to the portion of Ham, and the islands of Kamaturi came out by the lot of the sons of Arpachshad as his inheritance. And thus the sons of Noah divided unto their sons in the presence of Noah their father. And he bound them all by an oath, imprecating a curse on every one that sought to seize the portion which had not fallen to him by his lot. And they all said, So be it, for themselves and their sons forever throughout their generations, till the day of judgment, on which the Lord God shall judge them with a sword and with fire for all the unclean and wickedness of their errors, wherewith they have filled the earth with transgression and uncleanness and fornication and sin. Jubilees 10. Evil spirits led astray the sons of Noah 1-2. Noah's prayer 3-6. Mastema allowed to retain 1/10 of his subject spirits. 7-11. Noah taught the use of herbs with the angels for resisting the demons. 12-14. Noah dies. 15-17. Building of Babel and the confusion of tongues. 18-27. Canaan seized on Palestine. 29-34. Madai receives Media 33-6. Then, and in the third week of this jubilee, the unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah, and to make to err and destroy them. And the sons of Noah came to Noah their father, and they told him concerning the demons which were leading astray and blinding and slaying his sons. And he prayed before the Lord his God, and said, God of the spirits of all flesh, who has shown mercy unto me, and has saved me and my sons from the waters of the flood, and has not caused me to perish as thou didst the sons of perdition. For thy grace has been great towards me, and great has been thy mercy to my soul. Let thy grace be lifted up upon my sons, and let not wicked spirits rule over them, lest they should destroy them from the earth. But thou bless me and my sons, that we may increase and multiply and replenish the earth. And thou knowest how thy watchers, the fathers of these spirits, acted in my day. And as for these spirits which are living, imprison them and hold them fast in the place of condemnation, and let them not bring destruction on the sons of thy servant, my God. For these are malignant and created in order to destroy. And let them not rule over the spirits of the living, for thou alone canst exercise dominion over them. And let them not have power over the sons of the righteous from henceforth and forevermore. And the Lord our God bade us to bind all. And the chief of the spirits, Mastema, came and said, Lord Creator, let some of them remain before me, and let them hearken to my voice, and do all that I shall say unto them. For if some of them are not left to me, I shall not be able to execute the power of my will on the sons of men. For these are for corruption and leading astray before my judgment, for great is the wickedness of the sons of men. And he said, Let the 10th part of them remain before him, and let 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation. And one of us he commanded that we should teach Noah all their medicines, for he knew that they would not walk in uprightness, nor strive in righteousness. And we did according to all his words. All the malignant evil ones we bound in the place of condemnation, and a tenth part of them we left that they might be subject before Satan on the earth. And we explained to Noah all the medicines of their diseases, together with their seductions, how he might heal them with herbs of the earth. And Noah wrote down all things in a book, and as we instructed him concerning every kind of medicine, thus the evil spirits were precluded from hurting the sons of Noah. And he gave all that he had written to Shem, his eldest son, for he loved him exceedingly above all his sons. And Noah slept with his fathers, and was buried on Mount Lubar in the land of Ararat. 950 years he completed in his life, 19 jubilees and 2 weeks and 5 years, 1659 a.m. And in his life on earth he excelled the children of men, save Enoch, because of the righteousness wherein he was perfect. For Enoch's office was ordained for a testimony to the generations of the world, so that he should recount all the deeds of generation unto generation, till the day of judgment. And in the 33rd Jubilee, in the first year, in the second week, Peleg took to himself a wife whose name was Lomna, the daughter of Sinnar, and she bare him a son in the 4th year of this week, and he called his name Reu, for he said, Behold, the children of men have become evil through the wicked purpose of building for themselves a city, and a tower in the land of Shinar. For they departed from the land of Ararat eastward to Shinar, for in his days they built the city and the tower, saying, Go to, let us ascend thereby into heaven. And they began to build, and in the 4th week they made brick with fire, and the brick served them for stone. And the clay with which they cemented them together was asphalt, which comes out of the sea, and of the fountains of water in the land of Shinar. And they built it 43 years, 1645, 1688 a.m. Were they building it, its breadth was 203 bricks, and the height of a brick was the third of one. Its height amounted to 5,433 cubits and 2 palms, and the extent of the one wall was 13 states, and of the other 30 states. And the Lord our God said unto us, Behold, they are one people, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be withholden from them. Go to, let us go down and confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech, and they may be dispersed into the cities and nations, and one purpose will no longer abide with them, till the day of judgment. And the Lord descended, and we descended with him to see the city and the tower which the children of men had built. And he confounded their language, and they no longer understood one another's speech, and they ceased them to build the city and the tower. For this reason the whole land of Shinar is called Babel, because the Lord did there confound all the language of the children of men, and from thence they were dispersed into their cities, each according to his language and his nation. And the Lord sent a mighty wind against the tower, and overthrew it upon the earth, and behold, it was between Ashur and Babylon, in the land of Shinar, and they called its name Overthrow. In the 4th week, in the 1st year, 1688 a.m., in the beginning thereof, in the 34th Jubilee, were they dispersed from the land of Shinar. And Ham and his sons went into the land which he was to occupy, which he acquired as his portion in the land of the south. And Canaan saw the land of Lebanon to the river of Egypt, that it was very good, and he went not into the land of his inheritance to the west, that is to the sea. And he dwelt in the land of Lebanon, eastward and westward from the border of Jordan and from the border of the sea. And Ham his father and Cush and Mizraim his brother said unto him, Thou hast settled in a land which is not thine, and which did not fall to us by lot. Do not do so, for if thou dost do so, thou and thy sons will fall in the land, and be accursed through sedition. For by sedition ye have settled, and by sedition will thy children fall, and thou shalt be rooted out forever. Dwell not in the dwelling of Shem, for to Shem and to his sons did it come by the lot. Cursed art thou, and cursed shalt thou be beyond all the sons of Noah, by the curse by which we bound ourselves by an oath in the presence of thy holy judge, and in the presence of Noah our father. But he did not hearken unto them, and dwelt in the land of Lebanon, from Hamath to the entering of Egypt, he and his sons, until this day. And for this reason that land is named Canaan. And Japheth and his sons went towards the sea, and dwelt in the land of their portion. And Madai saw the land of the sea, and it did not please him. And he begged a portion from Ham and Ashur and Arpachshad his wife's brother. And he dwelt in the land of Media, near to his wife's brother, until this day. And he called his dwelling place, and the dwelling place of his sons, Media, after the name of their father Madai.